Hi, I'm Michael from Inside Classification Technologies. I'll show you in this second lecture how we can use our software to build predictive models for a really cool business application. So stay tuned, look this lecture throughout, and then you can continue on your own with our software. Stay tuned.
Classifiers can be used for many cool business applications. We'll show you here at Inside Classifiers how time management can actually be aided using our software. Well, what is time management? Well, every day when you get at work, you pick up your coffee in the morning, you try to figure out how do I need to prioritize the tasks I need to do today. So time management is essential on the job every day. You do it to get done what you want, because time is, of course, a limiting factor at work. It also gives you rationale and explanation of how you spend your working day. There have been many studies of time management. Several have been published in scientific journals. And of course, personal productivity involves strategically planning your tasks and schedule to maximize the time spent on your priorities, both in a professional sense and in a personal sense. One such technique which has been applied for a number of years is the Eisenhower matrix. It's also known as the Eisenhower method. The matrix is shown here. It's a 2x2 table with two dimensions: urgent versus not urgent, important versus non-important. And what you simply do is you assign to each to-do task in your morning planning session one of the four entries or quadrants in this table. So when you have some very important task which needs to be done immediately, when it's urgent and important, and you assign it to do it today. When you have tasks which are important but not so urgent, well, you can schedule a time to do these tasks, which is the second entry in this table. On the other hand, when you have urgent tasks which are less important, you should also consider delegate some of these tasks to someone else in your organization. And finally, not urgent and not important tasks, well, propose them and do them later when they become more relevant, but don't pay attention to these tasks in this day or in this week. That's how the Eisenhower matrix works for a day prioritization schedule. It turns out it's not so easy to label each task on your to-do list into urgent, not urgent, important, or not important. Several factors influence where a task can better be labeled. It also depends on the type of function you're doing in your organization. It depends on the type of task, of course. It depends on the day of week and, well, several factors. So, we have decided to build a classifier to aid you in assigning each to-do task into one of the four entries in the Eisenhower matrix.
I'll now show you how Inside Classifiers is used to predict the best assignment of each to-do task in the Eisenhower matrix. It's a really cool application, and I hope later on you'll try it for yourself. But let's embark on with the actual demonstration.
Here is where you begin using our web service, inside-classifiers.com. Simply click this big button and you begin using our predictive models. This is the beginning screen where you enter an email address through which you communicate with our web service. Each email address needs to be known to our system. If it's unknown and you type in that unknown address here, then that email address will receive a confirmation email with a validation link. Once you have clicked on that validation link on your browser, then the email address becomes known to our system. I've already a known email address, which I'll type here. So, like this. And I'll proceed with bits. This is the menu for choosing among the different models. I choose option B because we need to compute also the probabilities for each possible outcome, and we want to see the outcome that's. So I pick B. I'll now copy and paste the historic dataset from Notepad. So I've copied it here from Notepad and I paste it into this window, dataset window. I'll just zoom in a bit. Here on top, you see the header line with the different variables, work activity, the function of the employee managing, how many persons that employee supervises and which day of the week it is, and here's the outcome in the Eisenhower matrix. For instance, for the first case here, urgent, not important. For this one, it's urgent and important, and so forth. The dataset is representative, so I click this check mark here and then submit. A small check is being formed that the dataset is complete and that the values are valid. No invalid characters, for instance. Now I can build the classifier on the fly. As you see here, this progress bar shows how far the build process is with our 1027 cases in the dataset. And now the model is ready. We see here a score of 0.68155, which is obtained with in-full cross-validation. So in a little more than 68% of cases, the correct prediction in the Eisenhower matrix has been made. We can now click on Download to show the PDF file, which has also been mailed to the email address which you specified at the beginning of the session.
So, we have now built a classifier on the fly in a very short moment of time. It's very easy, and we can now predict for each possible to-do task each of the 4 categories of the Eisenhower matrix. So let's continue on using this model, which is also really easy. Stay tuned.
After the building of the classifier has ended, you can download the PDF file with the performance of the classifier, and also for this particular analysis, also the different probability outcomes, the different scores for each of the individual cases used for learning the model. You see here 2 unique characteristics. One is the classifier unique identifier, which you need to use later in this tutorial, and also here the email address to which this PDF file is being mailed. The performance of this learning session is 0.686, which is computed using in-full cross-validation. So this number prevents overgeneralization by overtraining on a training set, just for people or really into machine learning. Here are two graphs showing the upper one, the performance, the number of correctly predicted outcomes in the Eisenhower matrix, and red one is the fraction of wrongly predicted outcomes. And here you see all the different cases in the training set and probabilities attached to those. And you also see whether that was predicted correctly or not.
We're now going to use the classifier that we have built. So I just showed you the PDF file with the results. Take notice of the unique classifier, identifier and the mail address, because we need those to use the classifier to perform predictions. So let's go on with that presentation.
We'll now show you one of the real cool things of this web service of Insight Classifiers, and that is that you can on the fly use the predictive model once it has been built. You just need to enter the email address to which the PDF file was sent with that particular model analysis. Here, click on Use. Then you are propagated to the login screen where you re-enter that email address and the classifier unique identifier, which is reported in the PDF file, which was mailed to you. Click on Submit, and we have here already the classifier interface. So let's look at emails. How important is it to go through your emails? In this case, Monday morning. Let's say we have an employee with a coordinating function, and that person has supervision over 1 till 5 employees. Let's compute. So going through the emails is for this employee considered urgent and important. That's the first quadrant in the Eisenhower matrix. So the score for that is pretty high. So yeah, there's no really doubt about how to assign that particular task. Let's now look into administration, which is sometimes considered a bit boring by a lot of employees. Something that you have to do as part of your job, but not so many people like to do administration. But let's look at the administrative assistants, how to prioritize administration. And that's a pretty interesting case. Let's consider the Wednesday, middle of the week, and we compute. And what we see here is that performing the administration is considered urgent, not so important in that sense that it should be delegated. In modern organizations, a lot of administrative tasks are being delegated to the people themselves, also to middle management, to fill in all kinds of forms and administrative tables in the IT systems, and the role of an administrative assistant is more to check that it has been performed and to send reminder emails or call or whatever to get people to do these administration. Okay, let's now look at phone calls. Interesting. Phone calls, how important is that? Let's say we talk about account management, a person with no supervision of other employees, and it is Friday. So is Friday a good day to prioritize phone calls very highly? No, it's not for this account manager. Actually, it's considered being not urgent and not important. So yeah, the person can better do other things at this moment than picking up the telephone and call, for instance, potential customers. Okay, that's it for now. So what I've shown you is that the classifier model, the predictive model, which has been built on the fly using our web service, can be used immediately by our web application. Well, it's pretty simple. You just have drop-down menus for each variable, and then you click on compute, and you get the probability distribution over the outcomes. In case of the Eisenhower matrix, we use the probabilities as scores. So it's a really neat application of our software. It's great.